there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart Bcashers.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, this is episode number 155. Moria USD V1 and Cauldron DEX featuring the Shadow Wizards Dagur and Halvor. Today is Sunday, the 20th of July, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. Things are looking good on the markets. BCH is at rank 16, but has still pumped a bit in price. $538.04 for 100 megasats. One BTC sat buys only 219.6 BCH sats. We've improved on the ratio there. One ETH by 696 megasats. We're down a little bit because ETH has been having a good week. Selene, 30-day users, 546, and the Tokenaut TVL is at 6,995 BCH. Our guests today, dual episode, we have from the Shadow Wizards team, most famously of Moria and Cauldron, Dagur and Halvor. So starting with you, Dagur, welcome to the show. How did you get into Bitcoin?
Thank you. Well, I got into Bitcoin quite early, but just as like it was interesting because the bank stuff was so difficult back then. When I just tried Bitcoin, and it was like super easy and super fast. But then I just had it in the background. But then I got again more involved in 2014, 2015, when the block size debates started to come on. And I decided, like, I want Bitcoin to continue as I know it. We have to scale. So I started to help out with Bitcoin XT, which was the big blocker node at the time. And I quit my day job and started working full time. And I'm still here.
What was your day job? What were you doing before Bitcoin?
For Bitcoin, I was doing CNC optical measurement tools. So I worked a lot with CNC machines and optical measurements and C++ stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. What do you make of 3D printing that there is now? I keep seeing a lot of people super excited about 3D printing, but on the other hand, nobody seems. It's like BTC. Nobody actually has a use for it. Everyone's like, "Wow, this is so cool! I made this little thing." But it seems more experimental than people actually printing out, I don't know, new furniture or things that they actually like need, right?
I wasn't involved with 3D printing because that's not accurate enough. I mostly worked with stuff that required accuracy of like 1 micrometer or less, like sub-micrometer. That's mostly like CNC milling machines and EDM machines. But as for like the good thing about 3D printing is you can do like super complex stuff you can't do with milling. And also you can just prototype type stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've
never even tried
like
it.
Gadgets like these, you know. I don't know if you know this. It's like an NFT project on Ordinals. I met the guy and he gave me like this little trinket and I love it.
Yes.
Tiny Vikings.
Tiny Vikings. All right, shout out to them. I did not know that. I know the frogs. I know the Bitcoin Pepes or whatever they have, and I know the Taproot Wizards, but I did not know that one. It's amazing how much of this stuff comes inspired from mythology, though. Really, is people do have a strong sense of that, especially in crypto, because it's so male dominated. People love all those kind of hero mythology type of vibes, don't they? It's incredible.
It's pretty cool. It's the only ordinal I owe. It's Tiny Vikings.
Solid. Okay, excellent. And with the Bitcoin XT, just to dig into that while I've got the chance here with you, why do you think that didn't kind of come together in producing like what we have now is BCH. So it didn't come to a chain split that had to be done by Amori. It didn't come together with any kind of takeover or like control of the main chain. It didn't split itself. It just kind of fell apart at a certain point. What was the backstory there? How did that go down?
It will definitely be like the social aspect of it, silencing of voices. Bitcoin XT had a lot of support back at the time. You can even see like the letters. There's like a letter showing like Coinbase support this and all the other big economic institutions supported it. It had the backing of Kevin Andreessen and Mike Hearn, which were actually working on the project when I joined. So I don't know. It seems like a social attack vector that stopped it from actually realizing Bitcoin to become a big blockchain.
But when so you're working on the project, how was things being communicated to you then in that respect, and at what point did it kind of come together as being like, oh, sorry, we're just kind of giving up or shutting down, or at some point things must have like wrapped up?
Okay, let's see. This is quite a while ago now.
Yes.
I guess Gavin was more focused on being in the discussion than actually development, and eventually he was just forced out of it. He just lost his right to maintenance of the Bitcoin product.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, Mike didn't just he had like actually a big article about leaving.
Yeah,
and I guess he just gave up as well at some point. So it was at that point it was just me and Tom Harding working on it going forward with contributions from other actors.
Yes. Okay, and then it just kind of stalled. I mean, I just find this whole period is going to be, it already is probably the most studied period of Bitcoin history, and it will just be endlessly sort of revisited as everyone tries to figure it out. But I always think there's almost something
we kept going for several years, and we had a lot of support. We were the first to implement BIP 100.
Yes.
And at some point, you could see like the miners were signaling 60-70% of the miners were signaling for BIP 100. They really wanted it to go in. Then we joined the Bitcoin Cash split. Bitcoin XT supported both chains for a while, and then just the Bitcoin Cash. And then eventually just dabbled off with the infighting, actually, I would say.
There's been a lot of self-inflicted L's, you know, on the big blocker side. And I think that's something that nowadays the BCH community is much more willing, with more time and distance. There's also been significant turnover in who's involved, the different relationships, people's egos, all kinds of things, right?
We had a lot of stupid infighting, especially with the psychopath, I would say. Fake Toshi, Craig Wright, he inflicted a lot of damage. And also, I would say Amory also inflicted some damage on BCH, even though he was like the springboard in the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of infighting, a lot of drama. It's very stupid.
But now time has come to pass. I just saw today Craig Wright is busy with his Twitter account. He's just blocked Grok because he was too upset that it kept debunking him as Satoshi. So he can't handle it anymore. So he had to block Grok and make a post announcing how it was, fake news and everything like that. So some people are just so, in their own bubble, right? They just cannot see outside of it to save their own life. So yeah, as time has gone on, it's always funny to see. But I just think it's interesting because you need an element of introspection, right, to improve. You can never improve unless you can be humble enough to admit, okay, we made mistakes here and there. And there's such an interest because BCH gets so much criticism from outside and has over the years that for the BCH community as a protective mechanism, everyone had to kind of be like, okay, we're not perfect, but we're doing better than anybody else is. Nobody else is shipping these big block software, etc. Nobody else is really delivering it. So when you're being faced with overwhelming criticism and you already feel pressured and in the minority, it's then hard to then say, okay, well, you're right about this and you're right about this, because otherwise it quickly comes to undermining, well, maybe you're right about everything, even which they weren't. So it's been, quite a journey, and I'm glad to see the community now is in a strong place, having recovered significantly, that it can be introspective about those kind of things. I don't know. Do you have any sense of that now things are much better, right?
Things are much better. It's much nicer to be a part of BCH now than it was, especially without the infighting. We acknowledge that there are some limitations, and we gradually improve everything to accommodate. And we were very smart about it. We do it incrementally, slowly, but still faster than most other chains, because we acknowledge the problems and solve them the right way, I would say.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, all right, Halvor, you're up next. How do you get into Bitcoin?
I got into Bitcoin through I had heard about Bitcoin. I had some Bitcoin that I got for payment for mining Minecraft diamonds for my neighbor in 2014. But I was basically a child then, so I got really into Bitcoin in my early days at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And I started working for the only Bitcoin company in Norway, Bitgate, and co-developed the first Bitcoin wallet in Norway. I hired one of my friends, Alf, and we went down to Oslo for a summer and worked there. Really, really good memories there. That was 2018, the following summer. Yeah, and after that, I were tasked with creating a branch of the company in Trondheim. So we found some other people. We had already created the Trondheim Blockchain Society. That was me, Jorgen Svenvik Notland, which is in Nexa now, but has been really a power player in BCH for the longest time, or for a good couple of years. And he's actually the older brother of Shadow Wizard number 9, Jacob, which is now principal engineer at Riften Labs. And also a co-founder of this Trondheim Blockchain Society. We had different meetups. This is where I met Dagur, and together we created kind of a small quirky space, and this is where Dagur sits now. It's the Riften Labs HQ in Trondheim, with the beautiful swords and the Macintosh in the background, as you can see there. And yeah, this was also during the kind of last days of the block size wars, and me and Dagur, we developed a very good relationship and have been partners since. We have worked together on different projects. During my time at NTNU, I studied computer science. I also took other courses that would accumulate into training me into becoming a rocket engineer. I worked in the space sector for 6 years. And 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, Dagur came up to me and said, Halvor, I think I know how we can make the world's fastest DEX. Can you help me make it fucking awesome? And I said, yes, of course. And now we're here.
That's amazing. It's such a cool story. I think this whole area of like Scandinavia is so interesting with regards to Bitcoin, because you see that it's kind of seems like Bitcoin is already a small community, globally speaking, right? But as you're explaining there, it's so small in that part of the world that everybody kind of knows each other and kind of is keeping an eye on each other, right? It's very different to how things seem to operate in like the American Bitcoin scene or in China, right? Do you have any thoughts on that, right? What, like with people going to Nexa and things like that, they're going to be keeping an eye on BCH, right? And so I guess you'll be the first to know if they get interested in coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this typical thing of us in the Bitcoin Cash community, we have our arms open. We don't judge anybody. We don't hate anybody. We take in everybody, and we take time and teach them. I sometimes joke on Twitter that when people tell me, like Maxis and stuff, tell me that, oh yeah, please tell me why this and this and that, and I'll tell them you can maybe read the book or use google.com. But yeah, of course, we spend a lot of time, you to do this, Jeremy, I've seen you teaching people, and with an open heart and out of love, actually, just informing them about what have happened and good stuff, and also some of the not so good stuff. And when you earlier asked Dagur about some of the actual good use cases, just on a totally different note about 3D printing, actually 3D printing rocket engine burn chambers has a really, really big value. Just short rocket engine ran from me here. And this is because inside of the walls of the burn chamber of a rocket engine, you have these channels where all the oxidizer flows prior to entering the burn chamber and combusting. And this is to cool down the burn chamber of the rocket engine. And prior to the kind of advent of 3D printing, you had to actually mill all these channels out to regeneratively cool down the burn chamber so it doesn't melt because it's really hot, right? And 3D printing totally changed this game, and this is basically industry standard for super high performance burn chamber walls. Right? So yeah.
Damn, I had no idea. Well, let's just, I'm fascinated by this though. So I didn't know you were a rocket expert or, you know, in that industry for so long. What do you make of the SpaceX attempts to get to Mars? Are we going to get to Mars, or is it just, you know, some people are always, it's very similar, I think, to like BCH, you know, for instance, some people are always doubting and they can't really see, okay, right now it's not perfect, but it's going to get there. You know, however many rockets he blew up, like before he got that first one off, I think it was 5 or 6 times. And then he finally got it. And then people said, yeah, but, and every time they find some new excuses and then eventually it gets fixed, right?
Yeah, well, in the rocket industry and in rocket science in general, we speak of 2 ways of building rockets. It's the American way and it's the European or French way. And the French way, it's that you theoretically, over many, many years, often decades, develop a concept. You work as a this is why I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm a rocket engineer. We just build it. But in the European mindset, it's typical to theoretically develop a design over many, many years and several projects, and you have these insanely big structure of people and different institutions, and then you test it. After 10 or 15 years, you finally test it. And then maybe it doesn't work, you know, and then you're kind of screwed and you've wasted people's lives. Then there's the American way, where you just invent something and you try something, and you make 10 rocket engines, and you test them to the brink of like maxing them out, and you see who explodes and who which doesn't, and then you move on with the designs that worked, and you maybe learn from the iterations that blew up. And this is the American way. This has been my design philosophy of creating good, lean rocket engines on a shoestring budget. I mean, this is the way to go. You have to crack some eggs when you're making an omelet, you know. And this is the same for creating good rocket engines and creating lean good rockets on a shoestring budget and on a big like massive $1 billion budget. In terms of Mars, we are going there. There's no doubt about us going to Mars. NASA is going to Mars. China is going to Mars. UAE, they sent the first weather monitoring satellite to Mars years ago. And we have the Thor missions that also were like way back. There's going to be boots on Mars. It will most likely happen in the mid-30s, 2030s. And you have these phases of every 2 years, Mars and Earth is aligned so that you can travel from Earth to Mars in about 7 months. So you have to kind of hit that. But we are going to Mars, and SpaceX's current philosophy is to first send autonomous robots there that can do in situ resource utilization and kind of build up this small infrastructure of some communications tech and some resource extraction tech, and kind of build this kind of good, kind of half-finished habitat for people so that they don't start from scratch. So we are going there, and it's going to be glorious.
Yes, amazing. Well, I completely agree with you about the rocket philosophy. I mean, I am very intrigued always by the European versus American debates on Twitter. I feel like I'm actually somewhat neutral, you know, because I'm not from either of those places, and I did grow up living for a time in America, and then now I'm also living in Europe. So between those two things, I find it very amusing to see the back and forth, and I think Americans can really struggle to understand the benefit of a European approach in a lot of areas, more than Europeans struggle to see the benefit of an American approach. It does vary, some things I prefer the European approach, some things the American, and in this case it would definitely be the American one. Europe is nowhere near close to competing on sort of a business or technology front, but I think Americans like double down on that a lot without realizing the cost to areas like, quality of life or public safety or other things that they don't maybe compare as favorably on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's two different philosophies of kind of running a country. I can mostly speak for Norway, and Norway is a super rich country, mostly due to natural resources of petrol and oil found in the North Sea. And when you find incredible wealth in natural resources, you kind of have a choice. Either you can turn taxes to zero and just live happily, and you can have an industry boom, right? And people can have the freedom to operate and create companies and scale them and make them big. Or you can, even though you have this insane supply of money, you can continue to tax your citizens to a degree where they are in a chokehold and basically can't do nothing except from extracting money from the government through different tax schemes and government-funded projects. That'll be fake battery factories or wind turbine farms, which never get finished, and all the money is sent to Cayman Islands. And I mean, in Norway right now, I mean, I love Norway to the highest degree. I'm a staunch Norway supporter, but it's very sad to see that the four most highest market cap companies are grocery selling. It's like Walmart companies, not even Walmart, just food selling companies. And this is a trait not typical of good, solid, positive capitalistic nations. This is something that you see in like post-Soviet states, where some few kind of oligarch-like guys have kind of snaked their way in, and like, okay, you, my friend, you're buying the oil directorate, and you, my friend, you're buying all the energy grid, and we all do this together, and then you own the food supply. This is like not good. Even if your country has a mixed economy, like Norway has, of state intervention and state kind of the state having this responsibility over citizens and the economy and also the capitalistic machinery. I mean, my view and my kind of analysis of the past years and kind of 10, 20 years in Europe has been that Europe has no actual goal of being an innovative hub. I think that Europe has a great history and a decent amount of wealth, and right now their goal is mostly to maintain this, and even though it's stagnating, they don't really care about this, and kind of be like a nursing home. And when I travel abroad to Asia and to the Emirates and stuff, the people view Europe like kind of a nursing home. Said, okay, you can go to Asia, you can go to the United States, and you can go to the Middle East, and you can create stuff and create amazing products, and you can sell them, and then you can go back to Europe and live in Switzerland, Iceland, or Norway, and you can retire there, and it's safe, and it's chill, and the roads are nice, and air is clean, but it's for when you're finished with creating and building awesome stuff, and that is just so freaking sad, man. So yeah.
Yes. No, it is. I mean, maybe we need to do that at some point. We need to have like a BCH podcast, like off-topic geopolitics episode or something like that. I mean, we touch on it a lot in this show as it's related to BCH and so forth, but I feel like increasingly maybe one time it would be fun to do something like that. All right, that's enough about fixing the world's geopolitics for the moment. So let's crack on with the actual BCH. So our first topic is, of course, the Moria USD V1 release, which you put out at Bliss on the upgrade day, May 15th. This year. Of course, V0 was the previous year at Bliss, so I'm very pleased that you guys took the opportunity of Bliss to try and sync up your launch dates. Part of the reason that we actually created it was for that reason, because if you have kind of put a flag in the ground, then everybody starts putting their announcements there. It helps build up the hype and visibility for everyone. So I'm very pleased about that. But V1, at least from what I'm saying, I'll get your opinion in a minute, seems to be very successful. So far, it has 380,000 USD TVL, 759 BCH have been locked to mint MUSD. And of that, 489 BCH or $256,000 has found its way onto Cauldron. So maybe let's just start with that. Dagur, how are you feeling about the V1 MUSD launch so far? Is it doing better or worse than you expect?
It's doing great. It has been working as well as we expected, but and also as well as we hoped. It was very fun to be able to release it on before the upgrade, as like was a goal we had, and a kind of achievement to release something before it's possible to use it. And so far, it had great reception. We have not had any problems yet, and we're continuing to release small upgrades to it.
Yeah, the community's been really enthusiastic about this. I think when it was initially launched, and even this year, right? It's kind of actually amazing in a way, because BCH had a sort of strain of like, oh, it just needs to be P2P cash. We just need to use this at more merchants, etc., etc. But over the last 2 or 3 years, everybody has pivoted very strongly to embracing all of this cutting edge DeFi, and that's been very obvious, I would say, in the community response to projects like Moria. So I'm curious, maybe Harvey, you can give me some insight into why did you decide to build a stable coin? Like, why did this attract your interest of all the different things that you could have kind of been focusing on?
Yeah. Dagur has said this many times. You need to have a stable coin for kind of DeFi to work. And it sounds counterintuitive at start, because stablecoins are most often pegged to fiat currency, and this kind of the stuff we want to get out of the continuous and limited inflation and all this bad stuff. But when you ask a person what is the price of BCH, you always get the number denominated in United States dollars, and we can't get away from this being the apex fiat in the world, and stuff being denominated in United States dollars. And DeFi and liquidity in DeFi is built from the community. And in Cauldron, we had tons of different cash tokens when we launched. We obviously just had a SOC, and the only liquidity pair was SOC BCH. But as time moved on, we got new coins basically almost every day, and now there's thousands and thousands of cash tokens. But we figured that, hey, if people want to put in liquidity, they have to kind of pair up BCH with like autism, right? With autism coin, which is it's a cool ticker, but it's too volatile, and people in our community, they want to be economically exposed to Bitcoin Cash, and we figured that we need a stable coin, right? Because then the main part of the liquidity can be the Bitcoin Cash to the stable coin liquidity pair. So Dagur and I spoke about the fact that there were no stable coins, and in the start we were kind of just waiting, and when we spoke about it, we were like, oh damn, I hope someone creates a stable coin soon. And Dagur, after basically running Cauldron for 6 months, he through endless shower thoughts, I can imagine, he came up with the design for Moria protocol. It was initially called the pawn shop contract, and then I did some shower thoughts, and we came up with this very cool name, Moria, which is named after the Soria Moria Castle, which is a very deep lore and a Norwegian fairy tale castle that has deep meaning to us, and which was eternalized through a very famous painting by the honorable Norwegian painter Theodor Kittelsen, the great-great-great-grandfather of Howard Kittelsen, Shadow Wizard #4, and the DeFi protocol architect in Riften Labs. So yeah, Norway is a very small country, and genius. It's sometimes if a genius guy gets children, they are also a genius. We can see that in Howard. He's a very good developer and a true DeFi warrior. So we started working on this design, and we spent quite some time. We didn't want to push this out prematurely. And at Bliss last year, we did kind of an announcement of it, and we spoke about it in extent through Dagur's speech. It was a 0% interest kind of loan protocol where it was free, right? It was free to make loans, and for those not aware, the MUSD stablecoin in Moria works like this. You take collateral in Bitcoin Cash, you put it into a smart contract, and out you mint MUSD. And obviously, you have to have more collateral value than the MUSD you extract out. And at some point, you can get liquidated, because like when you take a loan for a house, you maybe put up 15% of the value in they call it security or collateral, which is what it really is. But that's like having a house loan. It's basically a trust me, bro thing, right? You have to trust me, bro, when you go to the bank, and this is our philosophy. It's that the age of trust me, bro stablecoins, it's freaking over, and for Moria, since it's fully decentralized, you have to have more collateral than the actual coins that you extract out. So it's Moria is a loan protocol, and it's a stablecoin created through these loans. And the mechanism keeping up the peg, it's called incentivized floating peg, and these two are interlinked. So yeah, that's the short story of Moria. We had a test phase of the V0 protocol, and we launched full production during Bliss this year. It was glorious and a very good experience. So much support from the community. Tens of thousands of dollars were instantly minted and put out as liquidity on Cauldron. And now in early July, we did a public launch, and we're really so pleased about all the good press. Cointelegraph, Cryptopolitan, excuse me, I called it a USDT killer even before we had a production launch. Bitcoin.com News also wrote about it, and yeah, we will maybe touch up on the audit of the V1 protocol later. But yeah, we did the audit, and yeah, it was a 10 out of 10. So we were extremely happy about that.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the community jumping in on this initiative. And I notice when I see in the Telegram group is that people are often trying to really dig into it before they put their money into it. You see all the times people asking questions about, there was one the other day, what if somebody buys all the MUSD on Cauldron? People are asking, how can my loan get liquidated? How can I add more collateral? What happens if the price moves up? What happens if the price moves down? What if some big whale comes in? What if there's not enough money to redeem coins, etc.? What if the site goes down? Like, you see people asking that stuff all the time. So I imagine over time you'll build up a good FAQ of answers and material in response to those. But I've been fascinated to see that people are very like they're very willing to engage with this type of thing, but they also take that don't trust, verify stuff quite to heart, and they really want to understand how it works. They don't just think, okay, some people have made something and let me just throw some money in. And a lot of good education is coming out of that. Dagur, I wonder if you have any thoughts about that. What has been either surprising to you or interesting to you in the community response and the user base? You know, has there been maybe a particular requested feature or something that surprised you?
I would first off like to say that the community is obviously made out of independent thinkers, really smart people. They ask the right questions, right? And they also ask the hard questions. And there come many proposals. You know, some people didn't like that we moved from like 0% fee. And that was like a whole discussion, like how can we keep this without adding interest rates? But in the end, you want a stable coin, and that's like the easiest mechanism to do it. And I see your slide has like, it's based on Liquidity 2, version 2. Why was this design chosen? And that is actually a coincidence. The original contract was named Pawn Shop. You would put up like BCH for pawn, and you would get like this USD token. And and I was surprised to learn that I was not surprised to learn that it was familiar to something existing on Ethereum, because the Ethereum guys are very smart. They've probably done a lot of things before. But it was fun to see like it was the most modern thing done on Ethereum, and to see it already existing with a massive success just validated the idea. So it was very similar to Ethereum, now to Liquidity, when we launched the original concepts, except the redeem mechanism. And we tried like with version 0, we tried out redeem mechanism, and it did work, but it wasn't like super effective. So the right thing to do then is just to, okay, the Ethereum guys have thought about this a lot longer. They have the same idea, the same concepts. We can just take inspiration from them, and that's why Moria version 1 is based on Liquidity version 2.
Wow, okay. I didn't know that was a case of kind of convergent evolution. Obviously, like you say, you know you're moving in the right direction where you're coming up with something and it's kind of making sense to you, and then you see somebody else is already there, somebody else already, rowing in that direction. You're like, oh, okay.
It's like Halvor says, like just accumulation of shower thoughts. Like, what is the easiest way to do this? And this is the easiest way to do it. It's the same with Cauldron. Cauldron isn't like the contracts on EVM. It's much simpler. It's again like just what is the easiest way to achieve this, and that happens to coincide very well with the BCH UTX model, which is very simple language, very simple concept, and it's like keep it simple and then build on top of that.
Yes, and I've been very impressed with the way that, because BCH in a certain way was starting quote unquote behind, because the BTC VM that we sort of inherited had been stalled for so many years, not to mention then all the infighting in BCH, and then also being a small community with limited resources and the price going down. All of these are factors against the BCH script development and also the app and project development, right? And so over the last couple of years, when you're behind, if somebody is moving at a constant rate, obviously you need to be moving faster to catch up to them. You need to have a steeper gradient. And we've now got that, and I feel like we've now got at the point where we've caught up to, we were talking on the show recently about the quantum root stuff that Jason Dreisner is coming out. That's the same thing, but on a different area, the quantum area. And now with the stable coins, it seems like, so this V1 you would feel like is maybe caught up to the cutting edge on Ethereum. And if I had to predict, my guess would be that over the next 6 months, year or year and a half, whatever Moria is coming up with will start to lead ahead of what has currently been invented on Ethereum. Is that likely?
I mean, not only is it caught up, but because of like the simplicity of the UTX model, we achieve like greater things. Like if you look at the Liquidity version 2, like the smallest loan you can achieve there is like $2,000. That leaves a lot of people out. Yeah.
Holy crap. BCH is like half of the loans at like $5.
A lot more complex. You have to like create this vault, and then you have to like sign a lot of things you don't really understand. But for Bitcoin Cash, which is a much simpler protocol, you can simply just connect your wallet and just do the transactions. You're not like doing all this setup, like accepting the contract, creating a vault. I don't know if you tried to use in DeFi on EVM. You're doing a lot of shit you don't understand, right?
Yes. Well, that's why I always felt good, because anytime I've been doing, I have like $10 in my Ethereum wallet. So I'm like, well, the worst case scenario is that somebody steals all this money, but I would not be feeling confident. Some of those guys who are big Ethereum guys, they bloody better know what they're doing, because if they have a lot of money in these wallets, they're doing all these transactions. Like, I'm, full time on all this stuff, and I'm often feeling like this is a bit of a risky click here,
So I'm not going into like the security aspect as a user, but like, what can you do with $10 on Ethereum? Nothing. On what can you do on Bitcoin Cash? You can everything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
on Ethereum you can actually pay one transaction fee.
Yes. Well, that's right. That's what I would put in enough, and I'd be like, okay, it's going to cost me like $3 to make this transfer, and then at $3 to transfer it out. So I may as well just like go all in and commit that it's all going to be burnt. The first time when I was using ETH and my transaction failed, and then it took the fee out, I was like, what is this bullshit? It didn't even work, and I still had to pay $2 for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. With $10, you can approve the contract so you can use it in the future. But now your money's gone, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you have DeFi sandwiching all these problems on EVM that cannot happen on Cauldron and on UTEX, so BCH based DeFi. So there's also great power that we are so happy that we're able to leverage, and it's good.
And we've caught up. We had to build this stuff from scratch. Do you think it will start attracting interest from the Ethereum devs? I've noticed that the ETH community, as a result of, I guess, cultural separation, are a little less aware of what we're doing than the BTC guys. And we obviously put a lot more effort into poking them and annoying them about it, because we're more sort of directly equivalent or competitive. But I've been really curious that, so far as I know, one or two of those ETH guys started following me, but it was only after I was on Spaces with them, and they thought, wait a second, this guy's making some good points, and then they followed me, but I haven't seen them popping up to ask any questions or anything like that. Do you think that this kind of stuff is going to catch on in the ETH community? Is like, wait, what are these guys doing differently, or are they just going to be out of the loop for a while longer?
Yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin people, their interest is to scale Bitcoin as Bitcoin is, and this is kind of where they're coming from in their attraction to BCH. The ETH guys, they obviously branched out of normal being Bitcoin guys to do this DeFi stuff, and they paved the way. And now we are doing all of the DeFi stuff, and even in some more code-wise elegant ways than Ethereum even, on a UTXO chain. And this is beautiful, but their kind of angle on this will always be, is this better DeFi? Is this more lean code? And can we do more stuff for less? And is it faster? And so these are kind of the two different angles people are coming from BTC and Ethereum. And I mean, right now we are actually doing both. So yeah. These are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to make some of those memes that I make because I'm trying to get people this idea. Obviously, BCH actually is the original Bitcoin, but since most people don't think of it that way, you have to try and somehow get them the idea that like BCH is like BTC, where it has the proof of work, it has the 21 million, it didn't have fucking DAO forks and like scammy bullshit like that, right? But at the same time, you have to tell them, but yeah, it is like Ethereum. It does have network upgrades, it does have DeFi, it does have a community that isn't just closed off and in some kind of copes, like although the ETH community is, yeah, that's right, it's kind of both. And then it's like, it's like Doge, maybe we can have a fun community, we're going to have the privacy stuff built in, like Monero or whatever. It's like kind of, we're doing a bit of everything, but that's quite a hard thing to communicate to people who are used to putting each coin in its own different bucket. I don't know, Dagur, what are you seeing from chatter on the dev side? Yeah.
I feel like the first thing you have to do is just re-educate people to say, like, dude, Satoshi, he actually invented programmable money.
Yeah.
You could do smart contracts from the start. It was just very limited. And just by adding these like simple upgrades, we achieved like the EVM compatible advancement. So you can actually do cool programmable stuff on Bitcoin Cash. And that's like a start. And then you have to take point that like, yeah, you have to like change your thinking. It's not like you usually do when you're programming stuff. You have to, it's hard to keep track of states, but if you have to manage to achieve like this difficulty, you do create a lot better apps because they're a lot more scalable, a lot more cheap. They're more user friendly, right? You just connect your wallet and it works. You're not going through like advanced approval of contracts, and when we manage to like come to great heights, like starting to make a lot of money, allowing other people to make a lot of money on DeFi, on Bitcoin Cash, of course they will come. Like money is incentive.
Yeah, that's right. Paul says in the chat, any liquidity goals for the MUSD BCH pool? For instance, it's gone from 100K to 260K the last few weeks. Liquidity attracts more capital, etc., in an upward spiral. Do you have any like internal team targets for the end of the year or by Bliss next year or something? Or do you just kind of say the more the better, like it'll grow as fast as it grows?
Yeah. Like all other stuff relating to Moria and Cauldron, we have just let this up to the community and just had organic growth from day one and until like present day. So it's basically just people. It's people like us putting in $1 here, $1 there, and obviously right now for Moria protocol, it is the main stable coin on Bitcoin Cash, and we see kind of a responsibility to have a deep liquidity, and we have actually we have been intro to basically all the world's 10 biggest market makers and like institutional liquidity providers to put out liquidity on Moria. So, and we haven't done this yet. So we hadn't done actually this putting out millions of dollars into liquidity to the platform yet. This will change in a very short amount of time. So yeah, we obviously have internal goals. We cannot share them right now, but in the short amount of time and in the very close future, you will see liquidity increasing by orders of magnitude.
Wow. Wow. That's insane. I mean, I don't want to ask too much more because you said you can't elaborate, but this just goes to show the exponential nature of what we're putting together here. Kind of like one thing leads to another, and then as eyes and interest turns onto BCH, money is going to follow. You did also share in the chat, in the Telegram group recently, this idea of synthetic real world asset and UTXO layer ones. People were saying like, when can I get not just MUSD, but MBTC or M Gold or M ETH, the kind of things that BCH Bull is supporting. You want to be able to get obviously different kinds of assets. And given that all the infrastructure is there, and if you've built it and tested it with one thing, then another asset seems, I'm going to say naively, as simple as if you just have a price feed for a different kind of asset, you can kind of just copy and paste, quickly tweak it, and then people can be using those same contracts and everything just with a different asset. Is that also coming in the short term? Any commentary on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Moria protocol, it works like this. As long as you have a price feed, and we do this through the Delphi Oracle, you are able to create a synthetic asset of any real world asset. And we did this with the USD for MUSD, and you can do it with basically anything else as as long as you have a continuous and stable price feed that Delphi Oracle can broadcast on chain, and that we can use for having the real Bitcoin cash denominated price of the real world asset. And this goes for everything. Most of our community members have been most keen on having gold first. I mean, there are so many different assets that we would like to put on as a synthetic stable asset. And obviously, we can imagine a future where you can trade every single precious metal, every single stock, every single meme coin on every single chain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, everything, even properties on Cauldron. And I mean, it is possible. It's just for us, it's just, we are swamped in work, and we have all this cool stuff we are doing every day, and we just need to sleep 8 hours every night, but we are on a mission here, and we will not quit until we have put the whole earth on Cauldron.
Yes. Well, this is perfect. What you're saying is just exactly coming to what I was going to bring up next, which is that I have said on this show before, I think even when we were, for instance, launching Selene Wallet, the idea that, okay, Bitcoin Cash is pretty good as in terms of anywhere in the world, any person, as long as they have a mobile phone and an internet connection, they can now get access to this global finance, cheap, virtually instant, et cetera, but that in the future we would be wanting to eventually put so much of the world's economy available through those same rails, because right now there's plenty of people that can't even get good access to just regular spending and receiving, but they definitely don't have access to the global capital markets, the stock markets, investing in different asset classes, whether that be cryptocurrency or metals or shares or anything else, right? Commodities. And now it's all sort of starting to come together. I'm so thrilled you guys are building this, because on the Selene side, all we need to do is just make some nice slick cash token integrations, and then everything just works from there. So we are probably only just, a few months or a year away from probably what will in hindsight be regarded as the very quote unquote early versions of this concept, but it's only going to get better and better from there. Dagur, what do you make of this? Do you have any thoughts on the sort of wallet designs and things that have been going on, like with Selene, with Cash and Eyes? To date, at least on the Selene side, we haven't really cooperated with you directly on building in Cauldron integrations and stuff, but that is something that we would love to do. Any thoughts on how?
I kind of want to bounce the question back to you. I'm hearing rumors of Cauldron integration in Selene. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Well, it's the same. It's the same as what Harvard said. We just have a backlog that's 10,000 things long, and we can't get to everything at once. There's part of me that has wondered to what extent we can quote unquote outsource this, but it isn't fixing the problem. It's just shifting the burden onto you guys, because obviously it's open source. Like, if we could maybe help you guys set up, and then you could build the Cauldron interface, you could build a Cauldron interface, exactly how you want it, or according to what your users thought would be most usable for them. But at the end of the day, somebody needs to do the work. We're just all so busy,
I can tell you what I like about Selene Wallet. Selene Wallet. Selene Wallet is extremely fast. If something happens in less than 100 milliseconds, it almost feels like to the human psyche that the computer predicted, or the phone predicted what you want to do. It just happens before you do it, almost like it's in your head. And I feel like Selene manages to keep that concept. And I really hope that Selene is able to do, I don't know if you can even achieve this with Wallet Connect. If not, we should definitely develop something faster, because we are the world's fastest DEX, but we also need to have the world's fastest wallets to support it. And I'm hoping Selene can be that. And if you guys want to cooperate on that, yes, please.
Yeah, definitely. We have a very basic Wallet Connect integration. I think things are going to improve significantly once we get the Cash Connect stuff. Still seems to be a bit under development because that Selene was built, from the start as a HD wallet, which is like not the case with Cashenize, which I think is part of the reason that Cashenize has had an easier time, at least initially, with doing the Wallet Connect and making those slick integrations. We've been a little bit slower on that, but it will come around. It will pay off on the back end once the Cash Connect stuff comes out. We already
I feel
have
like Wallet Connect is like taking something from the Ethereum world and like trying to make it fit, but it doesn't really fit very well, which is unfortunate. And bitcoincash like isn't big enough for Wallet Connect to care.
Yes.
yet. That means like here's a market opportunity to make something great, and maybe Cash Connect will do that. Please take this market opportunity, become big, and make it awesome for bitcoincash to integrate wallet with dApps.
Yeah, we'll be setting the industry standard. This is kind of what I was saying, before about now that we're starting to actually lead the industry. That is inevitably going to attract attention, but it still just hasn't kind of happened quite.
HD wallet is part of that, and at Cauldron we could easily add HD support, but since like no connection stuff supports it, we cannot support it. We would love to, because it would like increase privacy and it'd be just awesome for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Wait until we've got all this global, and that's the other beautiful part of it. We have all these kind of global assets that we're going to be able to put in there, support for all of that. And then on top of that, we'll also have like Cash Fusion. Maybe the initial versions will be, it will need to automatically sell your coins on the DEX, mix them, and then rebuy back into the asset you had, or something, over time, maybe staggered in different ways. There's all kinds of things we can do with that, but that is actually going to be insane once we get all those 3 or 4 different things working: Selene, Cauldron, the Moria assets, Cash Fusion, and Cash Connect. Like once that's all jammed into one phone, one app, it's going to be insane. People have no idea. Like this is, here we are in July of 2025, right? And I think by about, middle of next year, probably by next year's Bliss, we're going to have stuff that is getting kind of close to that. And that's really just the quote unquote next step for us, because there's way more coming down the line that you can speculate about, but that's blowing the rest of the industry out of the water.
If you just look at like Ethereum, they take like every single tiny component and they manage to do like a huge business out of it. Like we think like Cash Connect, like it's just like some utility. That's actually a huge company making lots of money. And I feel like all these things are like for cherry picking. You just have to pick something and build a good business around it, make it good, do one thing, do it well. And there's like so many business opportunities in Bitcoin Cash that we just don't see because
the propaganda mostly, but that's starting to fall apart. That's why the industry leading stuff is so important, because when you're putting out industry leading stuff, people have to start asking, how are they doing this? And the answer is that they have to, reason it out, and they have to get to the truth, right? You can obscure the truth with a lot of lies until the other people are building rockets and you're not. At some point, you just have to look at the rocket flying and think, how the fuck did they do that? And that's what's starting to happen now that BCH is kind of trailblazing in the cryptocurrency industry. So what else? What else is in the pipeline? I mean, obviously, I picked this one because I saw you were talking about it in the chat. But is there any spoilers or anything else you want to give us about what you have maybe been working on, or what you would like to see? Even just speculation. We're not going to hold you to it necessarily for the Moria stuff in the next 6 to 12 months.
We can say something that we are indeed building now, and it's what were named the Lighthouse contract in Dagur's Bliss speech this year. This will be further developed into kind of a flask vault for whale protection of loans. And it's just protection so that your loan will not get redeemed on, because the kind of mechanism in Moria is that the loan with the lowest interest rate can always be redeemed. It can always be redeemed with putting in Bitcoin Cash. And this is the floating peg mechanism of our production V1. But for example, a whale, yeah, maybe not everyone could just put in $100,000 worth of Bitcoin Cash and redeem the loan. But anyways, this would be very bad, and we couldn't kind of sleep well at night. So we are developing tooling for these kinds of positions, which would vault your position and always notch up the interest rate, so that you will never be the lowest interest rate loan, and you will not be a redemption opportunity. So this is something that we are indeed developing. So yeah, maybe Dagur, you want to add on something more?
We have some like short-term goals, and one of the short-term goals is to just finish the refinance functionality. We have the support in the contract that is deployed. We just need to finish. Like we already deployed like 2 of them. You can partially repay the loan now, and you can also reduce collateral. These are like 2 of the features of the refinance. But you will still have missing changing the interest rate, which is also possible in the contract. And I can't remember there's more, but like those basic functionalities need to come.
But wait, there's more.
On the long term, I would love to see, and things we have working like conceptually on how to make like a staking pool where you can be part of liquidation. And because liquidation doesn't have to be performed by one person, it can be performed by multiple persons or by a contract. And we are working on like initial design for this. This would be a very helpful thing for the protocol to have like a huge staking pool with ready to liquidate anyone, and also a good way to just make your money work for you. We want to make that. I think conceptually we should be able to do the same for redeeming. That's more like needs more shower thoughts, but yeah, there's definitely more coming.
Damn, that's increasing the efficiency massively. If I can just go on Cauldron or Moria, anywhere I want, and just throw in my money to like, I've got some spare capital, let's just put it in the pool, and it will basically auto snipe any good opportunities, which maintains the peg and also earns me money when I'm not like paying any attention to it. That's some next level. That's way better than the US Treasury, USDT like scam markets, that nobody has access to. You have to be bloody JP Morgan and they sit on it. That's like, this is the shrimp version of that. I love it, right?
Yeah. And this is kind of how we've done both Cauldron and Moria. We've started out with this very, very powerful protocols. And after that, what we're doing at Riften Labs is just creating new smart contracts on top of that to make more advanced financial applications. And we have the Delphi Oracle on top of that to set of smart contracts that also. And in the end, you just have this huge network of interlinked smart contracts, eventually letting you do all kinds of different financial stuff that you see in the normal financial markets.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this Hashlock audit that you got done. Then this was a big news story that you put out at the start of July, so a couple weeks ago, that you passed a security audit from. I had honestly never heard of Hashlock before, and except for knowing that they're a crypto auditing type of company, I don't know very much about them, but I was impressed because this shows that BCH is again maturing into that industry role, that we now have stuff that is getting battle tested, reviewed externally. It just helps to bring credibility and of course external eyes onto the project. So walk me through it. What does this actually look like? Getting, like, maybe Salim could even get this kind of audit. I have no idea. What was the process like? Did you guys go and talk to them saying we want the audit? Did they track you down and say, look, we can audit your stuff? How does that all come together in the background?
Actually, at the beginning, we had several auditing companies contacting us saying like, do you guys need an audit? And we say, yes, please. And then we have like this conversation, and they talk to the engineering team, and the engineering team goes like, yeah, we don't know how to do BCH. We just do EVM. This one we actually tracked down because we got we have like our Telegram group of Moria, and I think I don't remember who it was, but one guy said like, Hashlock, very big company, very respectful company, is doing BTC audits. Maybe they will do Bitcoin Cash, and that's how we found them initially. So we have had like contacted several auditing companies. I just couldn't take it on. We found 2 that would take it on, and Hashlock being, in our opinion, the better of them. The other one was also a good one, but they had no track record of doing anything UTXO, so we didn't take the chance with them.
And then you found them, you said, hey guys, let's do the audit. They took a look at it. Jonathan said in the Telegram, and I didn't double check this myself, but that the final published audit or something was like V4. So did they actually catch some small things or even some big things that you needed to tweak and adjust? How did that go down?
They didn't catch, they had one false positive. Like they thought was maybe a thing. So we had like a long discussion with them to disprove like, no, this actually works. It is nice, they understand it. But also there was just iteration of like adding the logo to it and adding pictures. And that's why it's like multiple versions.
But yeah, this stuff is new, and for auditing firms, obviously we wanted to use an auditing firm that had audited tons of other DeFi protocols, and all those are EVM, and we wanted to kind of just play on the EVM playing field there and just show our muscles on their field. And normal people don't know of very many auditing firms, but Hashlock is one of the most renowned in the world. And but this stuff is new, right? This stuff is new, and when it comes to, for example, Oracle stuff, this was a long discussion we had with them. One of their initial false kind of negatives as a security risk was actually something that is just it's not a Moria specific thing, it's a universe specific thing. So it's for every single stablecoin protocol which has a on-chain price feed in the world. So this was a long discussion, and I just want to say that the people in Hashlock, super professional. It was a great experience, and they have a very powerful team, and yeah, it was enjoyable working with them, and yeah. It was good, but yeah, it was a learning experience for both parts.
Yes, and do you think we're going to be seeing, like you said, now that BCH is at the cutting edge and is potentially having things that they haven't seen or that these other firms maybe don't see, that is going to be a growing market, which is going to in turn create more BCH education and awareness in the industry? Do you have any suggestions for anybody considering this type of process, either from the auditing side or from the BCH product side, as to how they can, how they should approach this kind of problem, getting your credibility, I guess, assessed by an auditor?
I don't know. I think that for us, for Moria, for a stable coin, I mean, this is such a vital organ in the big body of DeFi that we are working with here. So for us, it was kind of a must. We figured, okay, we need to do this. We need to have some third party just look at it and just say their honest opinion about it. And I mean, it was an extensive process. It was like a 2-digit number of people involved in the process, but this is too important not to have done. So for us, it was really a no-brainer.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's move on a bit to Cauldron then. Obviously, your actual quote-unquote previous project, but they are overlapping in a strong extent. It's the premier BCH DEX has about 700 BCH TVL locked when I was checking it a couple days ago. There's 181 tokens listed, although I'm sure many more have been created. Some have been filtered out, no doubt, and some of those are more legitimate than others, let's say. Give me a bit of a breakdown of how you see Cauldron as a team. How have you felt its success so far has been? Same as we talked about with MUSD, better or worse than you expected, and what's maybe next on the roadmap there?
Well, for our team, we have a very strict rule of only hiring the best in the world. Jacob, Shadow Wizard number 9, principal engineer at Riften Labs, he is just finishing up his PhD in Bitcoin protocol development at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And when you're writing your PhD thesis on Bitcoin protocol development, you see inside of his thesis all the stuff that we talked about in earliest in this podcast episode. So you even see the spike in the graph of and that's BIP 100, and you see it in his PhD. And he's a super talented guy. Howard Kittleson, Shadow Wizard number 4. Also polymath, super talented guy, actually from an EVM background, and also he made SEX, exited it. He's a talented entrepreneur, and he actually worked at Norges Bank, the Norwegian central bank, for 2 years until we poached him 2 months ago, and it was really fun. It's when he quit his job at the central bank, they were like, "What do you mean? What do you mean, Howard? You can quit? Nobody quits. Something had to have happened." And he was like, "No, I just want to build the world's fastest DEX." And they were like, "What?" They couldn't believe that someone would quit that lucrative job. But casting spells, it's something magical. So we only hire top talent, global top talent, and obviously there are more people. There's Nikolai Armisade, our community manager, and there are so many other people that help us and that contribute to all of the products in the suite of Riften Labs from all over the world. And we have gathered this great team of Shadow Wizards, and everybody that does cool stuff is a Shadow Wizard, Everybody that promotes good DeFi and decentralized peer-to-peer money is a Shadow Wizard. This is not an exclusive club. All of us are in this together, pushing and just onboarding people. And for us, lots of our communities in places like Nigeria, and there we see all the time stuff popping up. They're having meetups, they're onboarding people, they're just showing them that you don't need a bank account. You can just have your phone and go into Cauldron or Quest, and there's a wallet for you. You can just send people MUSD, and bam, there you have money. And you can buy stuff without getting preyed upon from your own government and their very, very negative money politics.
Yeah, amazing. I see Yoshi Levo in the chat says Cauldron profits allowed me to donate. So there you go. Good stuff. I'm glad he's out there, making some satoshis. That's the whole point, right? We are unlocking these tools for people who need them. That's amazing. Dagur, what do you make of the Cauldron journey so far? Has it exceeded your expectations or not? What's the vibe?
Well, first of all, I wanted to fix your slide because it says 700 BCH. It's 700 BCH and equivalent of tokens, right? So they.
Yeah.
No, okay, but otherwise, yes, Cauldron has had an amazing journey. We are growing really, really fast now. If you look at like DeFi Llama, if you look at like the last 2 months, have more volume than all other months since the Cauldron existed, and we're expecting continuous growth. That means that Cauldron is going to be huge this time next year. We're seeing more like serious tokens. If you had some already, Vidoe is one of the most serious tokens. There's an actual project behind it. Now we're seeing Paytaka doing first ICO, which is really cool. We're seeing lots of pump fund.cash, pump fund cash, going through. You're just seeing like growth on all metrics, and it is awesome. It's growing as we want to and as we hope.
Yeah, I've just looked up that graph. I've just asked Jet can maybe pull it up. This Cauldron graph, you can really, right, it's really like April and June and then into July. It's just like taking off like a rocket. This exponential, you can see this is slowly then suddenly in action right here, where you can see for the previous year, it had been flat, a bit up, bit down, kind of wobbling along, and then in April, it has just absolutely taken off. What was it that happened in April? Well, it's literally the 31st of March. What is it here that you think has kickstarted so much interest? Was it the lead into Bliss maybe, or something else that happened, the price spike? I don't know. Do you guys keep an eye on what is driving the traction at any given moment?
We just wake up. We just wake up every day, and new stuff are happening, and new coins are started, and money is onboarded by new people, and new people discover Cauldron and Moria, and I mean, in EVM world, you see lots of projects having just some VC money and some sweet deal with a market maker, and they just push in like 2, 3, 4 million USD in liquidity, and they have like 200 users, right? And it's like DentaCoin, right? They have basically no users, and they have deep liquidity, so people can buy their freaking token. And I mean, this is good. It's a free market, but Cauldron has kind of been the opposite. We have right now just like thousands of people using it every day, and without actually having this slightly predatory setup where it's just some VC money and just buy the freaking coin and no users. So yeah, we've just been highly focused on having a good user experience and just having a pure, lean and elegant code. So yeah, it's gonna be ground up.
Yeah, interesting. Yoshi Levo again in the chat is saying, I've onboarded maybe 10 people to Cauldron in the last week. So that really is a case of, I mean, it's a bit of a entrepreneurial paradox, right? On one hand, they say build it and they will come, which is sometimes true. Once you have a good thing, people get excited about it and they share it to other people, and then suddenly you're growing out of nowhere. But on the other hand, you do have to be very, very good, and it has to get to a few initial users before that chain reaction can start. I'm curious whether either of you think that we will see a DEX competitor launching on BCH at any time soon. I mean, in a sense, the ecosystem is still quite small, so just having Cauldron is plenty good enough for the time being. But over the medium to long term, I would love to see another team competing. And you've put out Moria USD, and now Matthew is doing Parity USD, so that stable coin is going to at least have some direct competition. Do you think we'll be seeing another DEX team maybe come in and try and compete with Cauldron?
Definitely think so, because the incentives are there, right? And we also had, I don't know if you forgot it, but we actually had a competition in the beginning.
Yes. There was are you talking about is that like fex.cash, I think?
Yeah,
or are you talking?
Yeah, they were quite big in the beginning. And had a lot of usage.
So what happened to them then? Why couldn't they hack it?
I know. It is. They were highly focused on CRC tokens, which was a meme in 2023 due to the BRC meme being a meme. Then you have a meme on top of meme on top of meme, and then it's like, what are we doing here? And then also China. So yeah, it was unclear to me kind of who was the developers, what was the roadmap, what were they actually trying to do here. They had a decent sized community, but it was like fleeing. In Cauldron we have the Shadow Wizard Money Gang. It's just so freaking powerful, and basically all of our users understand how Cauldron works, and this is not usual in anything, right? Nobody knows how an iPhone works, but everyone has one, or at least or a smartphone, right? And this same goes for DeFi protocols, but very few people actually know how they work, and not even all DeFi protocols are open source. And in BCH, we're extremely lucky that such a high percentage of the user base is so incredibly well read up on how the technology actually works, and they can have a look at the code and see how it works and why it works and why it's so powerful. So we are extremely lucky. And for FXCast, this was not the same. They were more kind of like a normal protocol and normal like platform. So yeah, I mean, I don't know who the devs are even, but yeah, thumbs up for them. And please, anybody that listens to this, build DEX and build a new interface to Cauldron. We endorse it and we want it to happen. So let's go.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. And I think we will see that probably as, again, more money and interest starts to flood in. Somebody is going to have an ambitious take. It would be super interesting if one of the big Ethereum DEXs kind of decided they would maybe try to compete. Maybe they would already have access to a lot of the right devs, a lot of the money and infrastructure and so forth, and an existing user base. That would be fascinating. But I don't know. I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I'll be interested to see.
We might see like 4chain perhaps before we see some Ethereum chain join us.
Yeah. Okay. What about that? That's a good point. What about cash tokens appearing on things like ThorChain or even on centralized exchanges like Binance? I know there was the proposal funded recently for the Blockbook integration, which I don't know the details of, but the general concept is that if we can get BCH cash tokens support into BCHN and into some other pieces of software that exchanges are already relying on, then they would be more likely that you could trade, for instance, MUSD directly on Binance. You could deposit, withdraw, etc. But that's a big ask from the exchanges side because they have to add that specifically for BCH, right? It's not just some universal technology on other chains. Do you think we'll see during the rest of this year or maybe next year cash tokens start to spread in the rest of the crypto ecosystem?
I think there's one missing component, and that is like a good user interface for the exchanges in bitcoincash nodes. And that has been talked about a lot, and I hope that it will be developed, and I assume it will be. Other thing is just there's lack of education actually, because everyone is thinking in EVM terms, and in EVM terms you have like ERC20 is a contract, and you have to add like contract support, and you have to. It's not that simple as cash tokens, and I think when exchanges realize, and like maybe when 4chain realizes that it's actually super simple implementation of tokens compared to what they're used to, we will see significant uptake.
Yeah, Halvor, what do you make of this? Do you think cash tokens is going to catch on in the rest of the crypto ecosystem? Because that's a big ask for them to get past all their existing propaganda and then to realize, wait, we're several years behind the BCH ecosystem, which now also has like thriving DeFi. That's a big jump, no?
Yeah, it is. I mean, propaganda is very effective, but at some point the citizens of the Soviet Union would want their McDonald's, and then you will see the first you will have a bite of the first Burger King in Moscow. So I mean, Mainnet Pat's project, which was fully funded, and I was very happy about that. it will actually enable hardware wallets like Exodus to support coins like MUSD and coins like Folding and Furu, like Dagur mentioned, and even Autism, which is just a joke coin made by some random person. I haven't joked about Autism coin prior, and I just have to say I have not made this coin, so don't buy this coin because I have spoken about it. Okay, so just a short PSA there.
Yes. Well, this just goes to the point that it's all compounding, right? As cash tokens has been a long time coming in a certain way. You know, there was years of research. It shipped in 2023. Here we are in 2025, 2 whole upgrades later. The infrastructure and tooling is still kind of being built out. It's not as slick as it will seem even in 2 or 3 years from now. It'll look all so much easier for people to get involved in, but then it all just compounds on itself, because if exchanges start getting an integration for one token like MUSD, then they will get all the other tokens kind of quote unquote for free, or it will come along for the ride. And the same as the wallets get better. So I'm thrilled. That's going to be super interesting once we see the industry start picking up on that. Okay, we've got to spend a little time on what's going on in the rest of the world outside of BCH. The big news this week has been these various different bills that have been going through in the US government regulating a variety of things. There's 3 of them. There's the Genius Act, which regulates centralized only stablecoins. So it actually specifically excludes MUSD and similar kind of things, but it enforces that USDT and etc. will have mandated 1-to-1 reserves and will be banned from giving out interest payments to encourage people to put their reserves into it, and also add some sort of AML requirements. We have a little clip from Trump with a bit of a memeable quote of what he found about this this act in true Trump style.
Yeah, it's a very important act, the Genius Act. They named it after me, and I want to thank you. This is a hell of an act. Yeah.
I don't know how. Yeah. Well, he's certainly in a bit of trouble recently with the Epstein stuff, but nevertheless, he has his perfect little turn of phrase here. What do you make of this? Like, stable coins have been increasingly a hot topic in the cryptocurrency industry, so you're perfectly placed to comment on it. Do you think that this better regulation shows that especially the centralized stable coins are getting absorbed into the system, or is it a good thing for providing clarity? Do you think this will signal to the rest of the world to adopt similar regulation? What do you make of this?
I can just start by saying that there's a big difference in what's happening in the United States and what's happening in Europe. While Europe and the European Commission and EU are kind of embracing this CBDC stuff, the United States government with Donald Trump in the White House seat has kind of gone anti on the CBDC stuff, and this has created kind of two fronts towards each other, and kind of contributes to my belief in this philosophy difference that we talked about earlier. I mean, the administration changes every 4 or 8 years, and crypto is a young industry, but we have seen so many different administrations, and from crypto being like such a small thing that it was just basically for also good autistic people to have some fun with and play with money, and to it now being this colossal beast of an economy. Things will change. We are still early, I think, and administrations like the Trump administration basically embracing crypto, having David Sachs as a crypto czar, and even Elon Musk briefly in the government. I've spoken to Musk about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and protocol development and I tweeted about this a couple of days ago, and he is very well read on Bitcoin and crypto, much more than he publicly states. I mean, this is just coming from me, but when Elon Musk memes about Dogecoin being this freaking awesome technology, he's not really talking about Dogecoin. It's like when I say autism coin, it's just a way of saying that hey guys, there's something cool here with kind of having, without being like, hey guys, buy Ethereum, buy Bitcoin Cash, buy autism coin. It's just a way to kind of make a joke that is a joke, but also not a joke. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I don't know, Dagur.
Okay, I don't know much about Elon Musk and his intentions, but as for like the regulation, I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? One thing is like, okay, you have these regulations. That means that you're not relying on legacy laws to try to define something they're not made for. On the other hand, crypto is very young, and adding regulations, I would say, is just kind of stupid. We don't really know where it's heading. And as you say, it says like decentralized stuff isn't included, but then you have to look at like, what is the definition of decentralized? And I don't really trust it until I see this definition, because I know from the European side that the European regulations for crypto also exclude decentralized stuff, but that's super up for interpretation by each member state. Like one member state might actually get it and understand the product and would say like, okay, this is obviously decentralized. It's just an interface to our on-chain contract. While another member state might say like, oh, there exists a user interface where the user can log in and do stuff then with money. That means like the user interface is a centralization point. And that just removes like clarity, right? It makes it super scary to do stuff.
Yeah, but I think, crypto is just slowly kind of winning ground here in being sort of recognized and legitimized by the governments, even if they are not always getting it 100% right. It seems to me to be slowly trending in the right direction, even if it feels painful and horrible for us who are at the cutting edge and know, all this stuff. Everyone kind of getting the message. Yeah, it takes forever, but it's getting there. So that was only the first of these 3 different acts. I'm honestly not up to date with. That first one has been passed. The second one, I wasn't sure if they'd passed it or they were in a second round of voting. I'm not an expert on the US political system. And then the third one, I think they hadn't voted on entirely at all. But the second one is called the Clarity Act. It adds guidelines essentially giving crypto a split between the CFTC, which was going to regulate some of the coins as commodities, and the SEC, the much hated SEC in cryptosphere, who was going to be in charge of the securities. Now, the dividing line between what is on each side seems to not even necessarily be all that much clearer after this has been published than before. But the general idea says the bill would define digital commodity as a digital asset whose value is, quote, intrinsically linked, quote, to the use of the blockchain. The term digital commodity would exclude securities, derivatives, and stable coins, end quote. Taking note that stable coins is probably only centralized stable coins. So the idea is that these, quote unquote, mature cryptocurrencies would be commodities. And so that is likely to include BTC, Ethereum, BCH, Litecoin, things that have been around for a long time, that don't have unilateral control, that don't have any issuers with greater than a 20% ownership stake, and were open source. Of course, we'll wait and see how this plays out in practice. ETH is honestly getting a little bit of a sneaky pass here because it's not proof of work and they had a huge pre-mine and all this stuff, but they're kind of big enough that they're able to bully their way through. And then in contrast, things like Ripple, probably going to end up in that securities bucket, but it's still speculation, or Binance Coin, BNB. So there's still quite a large amount of gray area here. But I always feel like BTC is going to get put into the Commodity Act just because they have so much lobbying power, and then BCH is just going to be able to ride on that and also be in whatever is the better bucket because BTC was in it, and you can't make any distinction on the initial distribution and so forth. What do you make of this? Is this really, important stuff, or is this just kind of more nonsense because crypto doesn't fit into easily defined TradFi type bucket? You can always just pass. We can just move on. All right, pass.
I don't feel it made anything more clear for me, at least. So.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, all respect to the people developing these laws and regulations, but honestly, most of, there are very few cypherpunks in these boards and committees deciding this stuff, and this is recognizable from the outcome of the laws and just the wording. I mean, these are not developers making the regulation, and it's like stuff we also see in our local government in Norway. I mean, most of these people, they have never worked a full year in their life or anything. So when they make regulation, it's obviously from a standpoint of people that have not worked basically a day in their life. So yeah, that's their outcome. It's reminiscent of that. So, unfortunately.
All right, the third act was this Anti-CBDC Act, which is, of course, in true Orwellian fashion, kind of the inverse of what it says. So it has prohibited the U.S. federal bank from issuing CBDCs directly to individuals. However, it did not sort of clarify or quote unquote, sort of left the gate open for the fact that the stable coins that we were talking about earlier are potentially going to, via a sort of backdoor method, become the CBDCs in the end. So even though Trump has said that he was not going to do a CBDC and etc., the government's going to do what the government's going to do. It's pretty easy to predict they are going to, at some point, try and grab a serious control, whether it's the existing stablecoins or doing their own one. And like you've mentioned, the EU has a bit of a different approach where they're apparently intending to launch their own CBDC digital euro in October of this year. Christine Lagarde, one of my least favorite people on the planet, says, quote, "It is piloted on a fairly large scale in China. It is of use and of service to all citizens," end quote. So you don't get much more to the point than that. We can all be controlled like China, hey?
Damn. Imagine.
It's scary when EU starts to take inspiration from China.
Yeah, they are saying, it's like, hello, excuse me, miss, you're talking out loud now. You know this, right? Your mic's on. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
I just remember reading like an article published by Norwegian Bank on CBDCs. It says like, yeah, now we can like decide that you cannot buy candy except on Saturdays, and we can stop you from gambling. It's like, yeah, I really want that. Please tell me how to live my life and spend my money. And if you introduce China as well, then it's like, okay, you can survive. So you introduce surveillance, and now you have to spend your money within this time frame. It's super scary. Super scary.
Let's just read the 1984 book and just make that while we're at it.
I literally just bought a fresh copy of 1984 the other day. I was like, I've got to read up on it. I'm challenging myself. It's in Spanish. I got through the introduction. I was making sense, and then I got into the chapter 1, and there was a lot of new adjectives in there. I was struggling, but it's definitely something that we've got to be, aware on. Like, it has to be pedal to the metal for us in terms of shipping, BCH and spreading BCH, because the window is constantly closing, right?
If you want CBDC, you can go on Cauldron. It has the best CBDC code.
Yes, somebody made a troll one. I think on there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if they're so supposedly by the end of this year, we'll see. I mean, the hope is always basically that government incompetence will helpfully sort of sabotage things, by default, that things will fall apart as they're trying to roll it out. It'll be delayed, it'll be slow, etc. So we're not totally at crunch time yet, I feel like, but it's getting closer and closer. So
I hope they develop it like it develop rockets, right?
yes, exactly. Exactly. The nice multi-country consultation and etc. Let's just crack on with shipping things. Okay, we're running out of time here because we spent so much time. It was so good about the MUSD and Cauldron stuff, but I wanted to get this one in as well. Community comment of the week. I had to give you guys a chance to comment on this, but Paul Stortz this week has put out a blog post which he calls his derangements, quote unquote, in Bitcoin, by which he means BTC, 21 of them. He's written up this huge blog post, which is essentially his version of the BCH podcast FAQ, which is about all the hoaxes and propaganda and etc., all these lies that they have been telling themselves for so long. And it's now got to the point that, he has been calling out some of those things for a while, but he's now codified it. He's done all the research. He's put all this huge list to try and make it very clear to the rest of the BTC community that they cannot just keep lying to themselves. It's not going to work. Now, he did not mention BCH or really give any credit to the BCH community for front-running all of this, which is to be expected. But he did finish with this very interesting quote. Bitcoin seems to be undergoing this same shift from independent-minded to conventional-minded. This points towards an opportunity. If you jump ship at the right time, it might be possible to experience plus 100,000% returns, ... twice in one lifetime, end quote. So I am 95% sure that this is a reference to BCH. And in true Paul Stortz fashion, he will be thinking, oh, there's so much stigma. I can't say that I've bought BCH or that I support BCH. And I just want to put it in there and sort of slowly work it into the discussion. But, the time is not yet right because the critical mass has not shifted. Of course, it's not shifting because him and others like him are too scared to say it. But this is my reading, that they're finally getting to the point of everything falling apart in terms of all their propaganda and narratives. What do you make of this, guys?
Dagur, please.
I looked at this article and I was surprised to see it coming from the PTC camp because it's like the same talking points we've been making in BCH. and many of the stuff, it's so true. I think you should just open the article and you can... I just remember like paralyzed development. Bitcoin Core is supposed to be like a reference implementation, right? So it's supposed to have just the basics, but it's so bloated now because of all the exceptions you're making to handle like small blocks. Like the mempool acceptance is super slow. Because you have to take care of child pays for parent and then replaced by fee, and then you have to have all these these rules didn't work well enough for Lightning, so you have exceptions for some type of Lightning stuff. It's full of rare exceptions, very hard to continue development. But that's just one of the points. Then it's just full of yes. It's a gold mine of stuff.
The derangement is insane, and it's. I agree with the article. It has gone definitely from independent-minded people to to take the red pill to come on, guys, finally JP Morgan Chase can buy our bags. And I joke a lot about this, that come on, guys, buy more BTC. Me and Sailor need exit liquidity because I still have BTC. The derangement has leveled up to new levels, and I was very surprised to see that we have a new breed of Bitcoin Maxis, actually, the paper Bitcoin Maxi. They only want the non-backed ETFs and listed companies with less Bitcoin on their books than their actual valuation. This is all they want. They want to be rugged at any minute. And I have lots of fun with these guys on Twitter every day.
Yes, I saw somebody quoting on that. The new thing in BTC land at the moment, for anyone who doesn't know, is Bitcoin treasury companies, which is basically just other people trying to figure out how to do like a MicroStrategy style paper financial engineering to, like you said, con people out of money with their ETFs and buying all these things that are not buying. I mean, it's in complete contrast to what we're talking about with having cash tokens, MUSD, MBTC, MTesla, on Selene wallet within 24 months in a all slick way, where then you'll be able to hold all this stuff on chain. But yeah, they have in this article so many derangements include lightning, non-mined L2s, the final rotation, finished product versus complacency and ossification, paralyzed development, neglect of libBitcoin, which is the alternative full node, brain drain. Of course, all their smart people are leaving and have been leaving forever, because that's basically the BCH community and everyone else that didn't follow these hoaxes. The purity tests that we've pointed out on the show before, MEV superstitions, constantly stalling everything, whinging about MEV when their coin doesn't even have enough power to really do anything. Security budget is obviously going to fall apart because their plan for the $1,000 oil tanker fees never came true. Stratum V2, rise of federations.
I mean, that's the first step of recovery is knowing, right?
Exactly.
And then comes acceptance, and then you can work on it. You can like jump on ships. You could do that, or you can like try to recover from that.
You're right. Admitting is the first step. So at least, thank goodness for that. At least they're starting to admit it. But it would be nice. Come on, guys, please just say the Bcashers were right and come build whatever you want in BCH. It's really not that hard. Like, I understand you have your little political game amongst yourselves of everyone knows the truth, but we can't say it's the truth, because if I say it, then everyone else who's already thinking it will have to admit it, and it will set off a snow, blah, blah, blah. As if we have time for any of this nonsense. Didn't you see the previous segment? We were just talking about the CBDCs are going to be rolling out, and you guys are too busy with your little kindergarten game of figuring out useless taproot. It goes on and on and on. ASIC boost, like, he's really is everything that we've already exposed on this show, God knows how many times. All right, let's get on to message to the community then, the final kind of summarizing and all of that. So from each of you, maybe starting with Halvor, what do you think the BCH community needs to hear?
Well, I think we are doing very, very well. I mean, since the cash tokens upgrade, amazing stuff has happened. For 2 years, undisputed, Bitcoin Cash has had the world's fastest DEX. And obviously, this is the brainchild of Dagur. And I mean, new stuff is happening every day. Guys, if we just continue like this, we will take over the world. And this is a positive thing, because we have mutual intentions with the 2 billion unbanked people. Just continue read up on new technology, continue cooking potions, casting spells, and create DeFi magic. We are going to make it.
Amazing. Dagur?
I would say just remember that you don't need anyone's permission. Just do cool stuff, do events, do build stuff, show that you're having fun, show that you're achieving stuff. And when you do that, people will want to join you, they will follow, and they will also start to do fun stuff for more people to follow. So, and I see that in the Bitcoin Cash community. Let's continue. Yeah.
Exactly. The snowball is always rolling. Okay.
Optimize for fun. That's really...
Have fun. Yes, exactly.
So we say Riften Labs, optimize for fun.
Optimize for fun. Okay, brilliant. Our FundMe contributors, episodes 146 to 155. So this is us finishing another batch, and I'll be launching a new FundMe soon. But a huge shout out to all the contributors here: Majumali Marcelli, Funding Father, Molecular, the show we love, at Cash Stamps, BCH for the win, Cash Dragon, Real Bitcoin.cash, Murray Store, great work, Burning a Cattle, Bitcoin is cash, Milton Friedman, Emergent Reasons, Stay Grounded, Go Big, Canach, BCH is the Michael Jordan of crypto, Yeah Beer, Keep Building while BTC fights and stagnates, the stage is set for MOE plus SOV, must obsolete ETH first, Purely Peer.cash, discover the thrill of quest hunting, find hidden cash drops and collect BCH, and Dorimus, keep biddling. You have full support from many our donators and patrons, Ricky HP and Kyle, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Start guide, FAQ, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new, listen to episode 85 and try Selene Wallet at selene.cash. Final shout outs for the show, and where can people find more from the Riften Labs team, Dagur? Final, yeah, it says it's like Cauldron dot quest, right? If people want to try Cauldron, they want to try Moria, it's moria.money.
And you'll find all of this. Just go to riftenlabs.com, and there's literally just four icons, and it's one small cauldron, and it's one for Moria, and it's for the Delphi Oracle. So just go to riftenlabs.com. And we're good, we're golden, we love casting spell.
Amazing. Okay, do either of you have any special shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, anyone maybe unrelated to Cauldron, anyone in the BCH scene, anyone in the world in general who's doing a good job? Tell your mum you love her, anything like that?
I love you, obviously, Tina. But maybe I give a shout out to you, Jeremy. This pod episode has been in the works for like almost 2 years. It's been so much stuff happening, and we have been wanting to do this for such a long time. So just big shout out to you for everything you're doing for the community every single day, and thank you for having us on, and for your continuous work with Bliss, with the pod, and with everything. It's big shout out to you.
Thank you. It's definitely not just me. It's also, Jet and the crew I have behind the scenes as well. Omar, Shan, CM Works, they're crushing it, and it's been amazing. The show's going from strength to strength. Actually, at the moment, I really feel like you said, it's been a long time coming, but we can always do it again soon whenever there's any sort of breaking news, and things are getting constantly easier as well. Like you said, that graph of the Cauldron TVL just going insane in the last 2 months. In a year or two's time, that's going to look like a little blip, that it will just be huge. So it's the same way for the podcast. Things get a lot easier once you break out of that slowly, then suddenly. Jet, do you have any final shout outs? Nope. Nothing. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave you again with I think we're still on the Free Roger song, right? So we'll leave you with that banger. Free Roger, exactly. All right. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Release Roger from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision, but they locked them up cause they fear his mission. Dog Bitcoin Jesus, straight from the start. 2011, spreading the spark. Told him the bank's gon' keep y'all in chains. Now he's in a cell where McAfee's name remains. Regulators hate when the people got power, so they set traps, watch them all turn sour. Spain got them locked, extradition in sight. For what, selling freedom? Nah, that ain't right. That they hate BCH cause it moves too fast. Still middleman fees the Wall Street tax. Now they got them shackled, trying to shut them down, but the blockchain's still running underground. To Donald, release Roger from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision, but they locked them up cause they fear his mission. The boss can't hold a decentralized mind. The state wanna break them, but they way behind. 2024, it's a brand new race. Fiat's burning, they trying to save face. Inflation robbing every man and his soul. Meanwhile, BCA still playing his role. They print trillions, stealing your wealth, while Roger sitting in a cell by himself. The elites want control, they don't want you free. That's why they took them same thing they did to McAfee. They silenced the ones who exposed the game, but Bitcoin Cash still carry his name. Authorities in Spain have detained Raja for U.S. officials seeking extradition for alleged tax crimes. The same facility where John McAfee was found dead in 2021. Some say this is politically motivated, but boom, beat drops again. To Donald, release Raja from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision, but they locked him up, cause they fear his mission. They scared of the truth, they scared of the chain, but BCH gon' break through the pain. Freedom ain't free, the war ain't done. They took Roger down, but the people ain't won. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. Down,